Chiedza Sengwe Matau Masanga and Karambazungu and took over teachers' houses. The soldiers threatened individuals perceived to be loyal to or supporting an independent candidate with death or assault. The chief election agent and 23 polling agents were arrested and detained for more than 4 hours. They were then forced to complete profile forms before they were released without charge due to lack of evidence. On the 5th of June, the village head, Temba Mliswa, also a war veteran, chased away my campaign team at Wembe. On the 8th of June, a female shop owner, Miss Mina Yasidi, was severely assaulted and stoned by senior government officials. The shop was forcibly closed and the customers chased out. Again, on the 8th of June, there was distribution of rice, Doro, and Yangwiju, which was transported by a vehicle with a registration number that I will withhold for now, but it is recorded. This vehicle was part of a convoy led by senior government officials I alluded to earlier. On the 9th of June, one of my chief polling agents was attacked and assaulted with broomsticks and fists by Nigel Mambiwa, who was spotted traveling in a Mazda BT50 truck, which again I withhold the registration number, as he was accompanied by 15 other people. The matter was reported to Magunji Police Station under RB 232888505. Again, on the 9th of June, village heads, names known, compiled a list of the names of the villagers who were deemed to be supporting the independent candidate. They further threatened to deny such individuals food aid while addressing a meeting at Nyadara Growth Point. Many, if not of these issues, were raised with the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, Zimbabwe Republic Police, and the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, with no tangible remedial action undertaken. The Electoral Court was also approached with the hope that the election would not be sanctioned. However, the court ruled otherwise, a decision that I respect. To that, there seems to be a tendency in the country that institutions which are meant to make decisions with a mandate constitutionally tend to shy away and for some reason will find a way out. The courts equally are in the same habit of doing that. And they tend to push these matters to other officers, yet no time frame is given, especially when such things are happening, which unfortunately does not go along with their constitutional mandate of ensuring that a free, fair, and credible election is conducted. And the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission itself has the power to direct any institution to ensure that the fairness and the credibility and the freedom of the people is there. If it's not there, they should then act. Observations on the polling day, incidents narrated below, are intended to give an overview of the environment on the election day and not in any way exhaustive. The figures and incidents are snippets of what was recorded by polling agents and could be far more, as some were unable to cover the polling stations for continuous period due to harassment and intimidation. The incidents shall again be officially placed before the relevant authorities for their attention and action. Failure for them to act will again be another indictment to our institutions and processes. In Nyangwiju polling station, Ward 16, 127 people turned away, mainly youth. 50 were assisted voters, of which 43 were women and 7 were men. Within 50 meters of the polling station, war veterans established a desk marking a roll call of villagers coming to vote, at the same time handing IDs to them, which they had kept overnight. A young voter pleaded to have his finger dipped with ink, despite the fact that he was not a registered voter. This he wanted to use as proof, security, and safety that he had voted. The presiding officer consented, and recorded this incident. Then they read the polling station, 25, 31 people were turned away. 23 of them were suspicious did not appear on the voters' roll despite some claiming to have voted there in the previous election of 2013. An identified truck with 4 occupants roved around the shopping center threatening anyone perceived to be voting for me. A food vendor was threatened not to prepare food for my polling agents, resulting in her denying them food. Magororo polling station 115, war veterans forced about 50 villagers to a polling station at 5 a.m., of which the majority were old. The villagers were forced to sing revolutionary songs and chant slogans. 38 people turned away, many youth once again for various reasons, primarily that their names did not appear on the voter roll. They targeted youth 35 and below uh, with the thinking that the youth would certainly associate with me. A polling agent was assaulted near the polling station by the ZANU-PF candidate threatened to remove the agent's polling agent badge. The matter was reported to a police officer who refused to carry out any investigation or document the case. The village head was a polling agent for ZANU-PF candidate in a clear violation of the code and was communicating with all voters coming into the polling station before they voted. ZANU-PF polling agents shared food and kitchen facilities with the ZEC officials. So you have a village head who is an agent. Constitutionally, he cannot. He has to be apolitical. But that's what was transpiring in the constituency. An identified war veteran was leading the youth in tearing off posters, flyers, and any campaign material belonging to the independent candidate. Masanga polling station, Ward 26, 123 people were turned away. Again, many used the same government official. Again, chased away my supporters with stones at Masanga shopping center. A resident confirmed the official and asked him to desist from such conduct. Murad, Ward 17. 53 people were turned away, 12 were males and rest females. 2 did not have identity cards, 1 of them was alien, and the rest did not appear on the voters' roll. There was widespread intimidation of my supporters by the village head, who is also ZANU-PF district chairperson. His wife was also the ZANU-PF candidate polling agent. The village head and his aide were briefly arrested for recording and taking identity cards from the villagers, but were quickly released 30 minutes later. The village head then went on to address villagers and forced my campaign team to remove their t-shirts. The same village head made routine visits, taking the opportunity to intimidate and insult my polling agents. The polling stations were mainly occupied by the army. There was no freedom. Even those who were not accredited would walk in. You have accreditation as an observer, as a polling agent, but all protocols were ignored. One woman refused to be assisted to vote. She was audibly heard refusing to have a vote recorded by machine and shouted that she wanted to vote for Mliswa. When leaving the polling station, she was attacked by the person who had accompanied her to vote, suffering tissue damage to the lower and upper lip, and she was rushed to Sengwe Clinic. So bad was the intimidation, 4 voters pocketed their ballot papers and wanted to show them to the ZANU-PF chairman as proof that they voted for ZANU-PF. Rengwe polling station 115, 173 people were turned away. The majority were youths below 35, with a few old people who were turned away as their names did not appear on the voters roll. Most of them indicated that they had voted at the same polling station in 2013. Without any accreditation, the chief entered the polling station and stayed for hours He argued that the support from the presiding officer, that as chief he was observing and that was happening in his land. An identified village head formed a separate queue for his villagers to enter the polling station, indicated that he wanted his people to vote all at once and attend the funeral. After objections, the line was merged with others. Village heads told their constituency that no one was supposed to be found at his or homestead. Even those who were not eligible to vote came to the polling station in groups. It is with these observations, which would certainly lead to us concluding, and as I conclude the statement, as I read this statement, 2 individuals are still hospitalized, recovering from the wounds inflicted on the election day by ZANU-PF activists. This election was marred by numerous incidents of violence, intimidation, and rigging, and for the sake of time, 95 mentioned, as I have only highlighted a few from the 6 out of the total of 35 polling stations in Lunga West. It is also alarming to note that over 4,000 people were turned away from voting. Of this number, the majority were the youth under the age of 35. Worse still, the glaring fact that most of them insisted that they had voted at the same polling station in previous years. We have polling stations which will not name where since 1980 up to 2013, they never had over 100 people voting. But in this election, they had at least 500 people. Only those without a conscience are celebrating this outcome. In fact, they've managed to sow and water the seeds of anger and resentment towards ZANU-PF through their collective and individual actions. I again reiterate my utmost appreciation to the people of Lunga West who peacefully and bravely expressed their choice. They are the victors. I'll take this opportunity to explore the many options that lie ahead as a native citizen, the different spheres for better Zimbabwe. I've decided not to stand for election as a member of parliament in any constituency and pursue other interests, but at the same time be able to work on the reforms that are much needed in the country. There is absolutely no reason for one to be a legislator when clearly the things that are happening are contradictory of the role of a legislator. I think the onus is up to those who have experienced this to ensure that the playing field is even moving forward. And I think we have also, I'm also making an application to the courts challenging these results, not for me, but I have a conscience at the end of the day, and I have, as a Zimbabwean, a mandate to ensure that the playing field is level. My conscience is my master. I cannot walk away from the Lunga West people of Zimbabwe without ensuring that there is some remedy that is in action or the pipeline to ensure that it happens. My prayer is that the institutions which are responsible for the judiciary, to the Electoral Commission, to the Zimbabwe Public Police, to the Human Rights Commission, are just not rubber stamping and are just not in office to think patronize and keep jobs. We need, as Zimbabwean professionals, who will ensure that their mandate is just beyond patronizing certain individuals, but again, them observing that they've got a constitutional mandate to ensure that they work for the better of Zimbabwe. I thank you. Are there any questions? Yes.
In the last statement, you said you're going to be voting for electoral reform. Are you saying that you are boycotting any future elections until the 23rd?
I always say that I understand why other organizations have decided not to stand for elections. I stood for elections as an independent candidate, and I would agree with them why they have decided not to. But equally, in moving forward, we need to have people standing in these elections so that we gauge and judge whether the reforms are taking shape or not taking shape. Because quite clearly, what prevailed in Urunga West will certainly prevail 2018. And Urunga West was not a constituency election, it was a presidential election. And that's what it was. You had two vice presidents visiting, and that gives you the magnitude of what that election meant. And so what you saw in Urunga West is what will happen. So if it had not happened, and if I had not stood, we would not know what to do to ensure that the reforms and what we want in terms of the level, the playing field being level, are done. So I still insist that people must stand, but in standing, whatever is the outcome must then be put into action and people must work towards that. Yes.
And for you to challenge, to put your grievances through the courts, don't you think it's just a formality? Because I don't think they much for you to work for, considering how the courts go in favor of the
This is my prayer, and I think this was my point, that it's about time that these institutions have a meaning, have a purpose. And I think it can only come about when they wear that professional hat and understand they have a constitutional mandate to move this country forward. And I think it's important that they take heed of that, because you would not want a situation where people are tired and they know the outcome before it happens. Let me say that I was pretty. I've been following the AU meetings in South Africa, and the AU chairman, His Excellency, Comrade, was very clear in saying that first of all, he talked about how African leaders must follow the constitution. He equally went on to say, why should we have two terms? But my question to my beloved president is, why are Zimbabweans being marshaled to guns to go and vote? Does he know that? So to me, the democracy cannot just be a talk. And I think when events in Ringo are happening and he's AU president and he's preaching the constitution, he's preaching the will of the people being exercised in Zimbabwe. And I think it must start from there, that the playing field must be even. And the reason why there will always be problems in Africa with leaders is that the elections are always controversial. And for as long as they remain controversial, and for as long as the playing field is not even, people have no faith in that leader. And they're saying you have a mandate from us to lead us, so leave office. And any leader who wants to lead must ensure that the playing field is even. I think, to me, that should be the message from the AU chairman, that can the playing field be even? Before we even give 2 terms or 3 terms or so many terms to those leaders chosen. Were they elected fairly? The focus must be on that. Yes.
Yeah, I have two questions. The first one is that if you decide to not to stand for any parliamentary election in the future, do you think you are betraying the people or thousands of people who voted for you recently? Because they still look up to you and they believe in you. The second question is, having contested previously as a ZANU-PF candidate, and recently having contested as an opposition member to some extent, or as an opposition candidate, though you should say you were independent, what lessons did you draw that contesting that you can draw from contesting against ZANU-PF? And what advice can you give to new independent candidates who are entering politics?
Those are good questions. The first question is, I never campaigned. Over 4,000 people voted without campaigning. When 2013, I had nearly 9,000 people who voted for me. And this time, the ZANU-PF candidate had just less than 6,000. The total number of vote cast was 10,200 in 2013, which is just over 15,000. Urungwa West is unique in many ways. Those 4,000 plus are heroes of this country. They are able to carry each other moving forward. In carrying each other moving forward, there need to be such people in each constituency to take others, to carry others forward. And I see myself being, being a pivotal player in that, with what I've seen in Urungwa West. In preparing for 2018, we need to be well organized, and we need to have people who, if you can get 4,000 people under such pressure, despite them giving their IDs to village heads and to the army, voting otherwise, you can be rest assured that 2018, no such resource or manpower will be in each constituency. It will be spread around. And there's no way such monitoring will happen as it did. So it certainly, gives me an opportunity, an idea to be able to spread the message, around the country and how we should prepare ourselves for 2018. They have an MP, whether we like it or not, in Keith Guja. And Keith Guja is not the issue. The issue is the system. I mean, this system is a blacksmith. It's not different. It's just the color of the skin that has changed, but the system remains the same. And there's got to be an advocacy of young people, and this is my call, of young people to stand up. You've got over 5 million registered voters, but only about 2 million vote. Where are the rest? I see that the only way you can counter those base camps is to have youths with a message. Who counter that? A message in terms of the economic imperative, in terms of the policies of the country. And the same message is repeated. And the same people who go to vote are the same people. They're the old ladies, they're the old people, and the electorate has not changed. And that is the sad part. And I talk about the lessons I've learned. The electorate has not changed. It's the same people whose mindset will never change, but yet there is a majority which can overtake that through a democratic process where you have these base camps beating up people. You must also counter with some base camps which educate people. There's more needed in educating the people. because the electorate, the people who vote, are not changing. The number remains the same. And with voter apathy is really on its way up, not on its way down. And I think it is important that the younger people see that. And the only way they can usher change is to take part, is to go to the rural areas, is to have university students who are on a break. They have outreach programs going there and teaching. Fortunately, I had university students who were polling agents, and I'm sure one day they'll give you their report. And the reason why I got them involved, they're the future. I wanted them to understand what it means being part of an election. Because, an SRC election is different from a constituency election. It's different from a presidential election. They have the feel of it now, and they must be able to advance that forward. The thing lessons drawn are many, and to be honest with you, it's good that I don't see myself as a constituency leader. I don't see myself as a provincial leader. I see myself as a national leader. And being a national leader, I have to be exposed to that. I have been a member of parliament before. What's new? It's there on my CV. I've been a chairman of a parliamentary committee. What is new? I've been a chairman of the district coordinating committee, the DCC of Uru. I've been a provincial chairman, equally a central committee member. The only position I've not had is a cabinet position and a PB member. But the central committee is the principal organ in the absence of Congress of the ruling party. So I've sat in the highest sitting organ of the party. The CV is pretty clear. But what is important is to now use that CV to then educate people and to be able to ensure that we meet the minimum, the bare minimum for a free, fair, and credible election. Yes.
We have a question from people who are following online. The first question is, do you think you will win again outside the formal party structure? So in that sense, do you have any plans to form a party that can contest some people?
Listen, for me, I've always talked about a grand coalition, but I want to be an advocate for change, for young people to come through. And I think I've said this over and over in the press conference, that the disappointing part is that our young people, who are over 60% of the electorate, are not taking part in politics. But they're not taking part in politics because they're equally not in office. I've mentioned that come 2018, each ward by the end of 2015, they must have a candidate who's young, who's working in there. And when the young see their own taking up these positions, they then see the need to vote. Members of parliament, they must come up with names, proportional representation, and so forth. The aspect of forming parties is not one that I believe in. I mean, I believe that, if you have money and you believe in a certain company that does manufacturing, and you believe in that business of manufacturing, do you necessarily need to start a new company to manufacture, or you use that capital to turn around that company? I would probably use the capital to turn around that company rather than create another company. So to me, this is where I talk about the Grand Coalition. And the Grand Coalition 2018 must clearly, involve young people. And we have the time now to talk to them. And that's a bigger picture from a national point of view, a role which I would more want to play with the experience I've had and so forth. Yes.
So when is the good challenge likely to be valid?
We are receiving various reports from the chief polling agents. As I had indicated, we just received about 35 polling agents with 6 coalition centers, with 1 command center. So those reports are coming through and so forth. And I'm pretty confident. And just to respond to my sister earlier on, that what what are your chances of winning this court case? Believe me, we have sharp lawyers, and I think they've learned their mistakes in the past in why the petitions have failed. And I think that the lawyer who will be handling this is experienced enough to be able to think win this case. It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. And it's just the prayer remains that whoever is presiding over it, can they be professional? Can they carry out their constitutional mandate? That's the only concern. They seem to want to reserve judgment until a certain point, and it has become a trend, which is quite unfortunate. Yes.
Yeah, from your observation, Mr. Mliswa, do you think if the MDC has decided to participate in these by-elections, they would have managed to win some seats?
Yeah, MDC would have retained all the seats that they had. That's pretty clear. You can see with the numbers. The numbers that is an EPF won by MDC would have easily won those elections. And I think, I don't speak for MDC, but I think anybody who wants to really stand 2018 must spend more time with people, educating people. I think that's where the emphasis is. And I don't know why they would remove others and keep others in parliament and so forth. And yes, times are tough. Members of parliament see it as a way of life and so forth. No wonder why probably people like myself are not too keen on being in parliament, because I think we think had the life in parliament. We're business people, and we can easily go back to business and carry on and so forth. Can I have one more quick question? Yes.
As part of the reform, say, the elite that has been removed from Zambia, are you willing as the elite to fund this education program that you are proposing?
Certainly.
Require money.
Certainly. My point is the money that are used in the constituency is, you see, Wurunga West has done well. Has done well. I never thought the rural constituency would things stand up like that. And if we can get more standing up like that, come 2018, certainly, and I am prepared to spend more money, to find more money for such to be done. But we need to equally involve university students. We need to involve the youth who are unemployed, to be educated about this. Because if you look at the unemployed youths, if they had to be given these lessons and also impart to their young ones, this should be the, how are we going to win? How are we going to be involved? Who's certainly one of us who's getting involved and so forth. ZANU PF, yes, talk about this, the landslide. But ZANU PF has one thing going against it which they cannot change. That is the economy. The economy certainly is not landslide. The economy is actually land sleeping. That's where it is, and people must capitalize on the policies, because quite clearly their policies of turning around the economy have not worked. They really haven't worked. I'd like to thank you for this time. Thank you.
If there's anybody who wants to